My golden child siblings received $370 from our parents while I got nothing, yet they still mock my small wedding that I paid for myself. I finally snapped at the family dinner. I'm a 32-year-old guy who's always felt like the black sheep of my family. Growing up, I watched as my older sister and younger brother were showered with praise, gifts, and opportunities, while I struggled to get a fraction of that attention. But I never imagined just how deep the favoritism ran until my own wedding day became a breaking point that exposed years of resentment and inequality. Looking back, the signs were always there. My sister got a brand new car for her sweet 16, while I had to work part-time jobs throughout high school just to afford a beat-up used Honda. My brother got sent to expensive soccer camps every summer while I stayed home. They both went to prestigious private colleges fully paid for by our parents, while I cobbled together scholarships and loans to attend community college before transferring to a state school. I told myself it was just because they were more talented or driven than me. My sister was the academic star, destined for medical school. My brother was the athletic golden boy with pro soccer aspirations. And me? I was just average Joe, plugging away at my business degree and hoping to land a decent office job after graduation. But as the years went by and we all entered adulthood, the disparity only seemed to grow. My sister got a lavish wedding at a 5-star resort, all expenses covered by our parents. My brother had a down payment gifted to him for his first house in an upscale neighborhood. Meanwhile, I was living in a cramped apartment, driving the same old beater car, and putting every spare dollar towards paying off my student loans. Still, I kept my head down and worked hard. I landed an entry-level marketing job after college and slowly climbed the corporate ladder. I met an amazing woman, Sarah, who loved me for who I was, not what I had. When I proposed after 3 years of dating, I was on cloud 9. We started planning a small, intimate wedding that fit our modest budget. That's when things really started to unravel. My mom kept pushing us to have a bigger event, offering to chip in so we could invite more family and have it at a nicer venue. But her idea of chipping in was a measly $5,000, a drop in the bucket compared to the 6-figure affair she'd bankrolled for my sister. When I politely declined and said we were happy with our plans, she seemed almost offended. The week before the wedding, I overheard my brother on the phone with our dad. "Yeah, can you transfer another $50K to my account? The kitchen remodel is costing more than we thought." My jaw dropped as I heard my dad easily agree. $50,000, just like that? I couldn't believe it. I confronted my dad later that day, asking if it was true that he was giving my brother such a large sum. He got defensive, saying it wasn't any of my business. But I pressed further, demanding to know if my siblings had received similar gifts over the years. After some heated back and forth, my dad finally snapped. "Fine, you want to know? Yes, we've helped your brother and sister financially. They have goals and ambitions that require support. Your sister's in her medical residency, and your brother's starting his own business. What do you need money for? To buy more video games." I was stunned into silence. All those years of feeling less than suddenly made horrible sense. My parents truly did view me as the family failure, not worthy of the same investment they'd poured into my siblings. I stormed out of the house, my mind reeling. The wedding went ahead as planned the following weekend. It was a beautiful, intimate gathering of our closest friends and family at a picturesque local park. Sarah looked radiant in her simple white dress, and I felt so lucky to be marrying my best friend. But I couldn't fully enjoy the moment. My family's behavior cast a shadow over everything. My mom kept making backhanded comments about how quaint everything was. My sister complained about the food being too casual. And my brother loudly proclaimed he was taking everyone out to a 5-star restaurant afterward, because you can't expect people to fill up on appetizers. I bit my tongue, not wanting to cause a scene on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. But inside, I was seething. How dare they criticize the wedding we'd worked so hard to pay for ourselves? How could they be so blind to their own entitlement? The final straw came during the speeches. My dad stood up, glass in hand, and started rambling about how proud he was of all his children. He went on and on about my sister's medical career and my brother's entrepreneurial spirit. When he got to me, all he could muster was, and my name, well, he's always been dependable. Dependable. That's all I was worth in his eyes. Not ambitious, not successful, just dependable. Like a sturdy piece of furniture or a reliable appliance. I felt my face burning with humiliation as I looked around at our guests, wondering if they could sense the backhanded nature of the compliment. The rest of the reception passed in a blur. I plastered on a smile and went through the motions, but inside I was a roiling mess of anger, hurt, and betrayal. Sarah could tell something was wrong, but I assured her we'd talk about it later. This was supposed to be our day, and I didn't want to burden her with my family drama. A week after the wedding, we all gathered for our monthly family dinner. I hadn't planned on saying anything. I told myself I'd moved past it and just wanted to focus on my new life with Sarah. But as we sat around the table, the old dynamics quickly resurfaced. My sister was going on and on about the luxury vacation she and her husband were planning, casually mentioning how our parents had gifted them frequent flyer miles. My brother couldn't stop talking about his new boat, thanking Dad for the advice on the investment opportunity that had apparently funded the purchase. I sat there, pushing food around my plate, feeling more and more like an outsider in my own family. The contrast between their lavish lifestyles and my modest means had never been more stark. And yet, they seemed completely oblivious to their own privilege. That's when my mom turned to me with a saccharine smile. "So, honey, how was the honeymoon? Did you and Sarah have a nice time at that little bed and breakfast?" Something in me snapped. All the years of pent-up resentment and hurt came pouring out in a torrent of words I couldn't stop. "You know what, Mom? We had an amazing time. Because unlike some people, we don't need 5-star resorts and first-class flights to be happy. We appreciate what we have because we worked for it ourselves." The table fell silent, all eyes on me. But I was too far gone to stop now. Do you have any idea how it feels to sit here and listen to all of you brag about your fancy vacations and new toys, knowing that it's all funded by Mom and Dad's favoritism? Do you even realize how much they've given you over the years? My sister's face flushed with anger. "That's not fair. We've worked hard for what we have." I let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, really? Did you work hard for the $150,000 they spent on your wedding? Or the $100,000 down payment on your house? What about you, little brother? Was it hard work that bought that boat? Or was it the investment opportunity Dad handed you on a silver platter?" My brother started to sputter a response, but I cut him off. "I've done the math. Between the two of you, you've received over $370,000 from our parents in the last 5 years alone. And that's not counting the fully paid college tuitions, the cars, the summer homes. Meanwhile, I got, what? A pat on the back and a $5,000 offer towards my wedding that you all spent the entire time criticizing?" My dad's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "Now listen here, young man. What we choose to do with our money is our business. Your siblings have ambition, they have goals, they're doing something with their lives. And I'm not?" I shot back, my voice rising. "I've worked my ass off to get where I am without a single handout from you. I put myself through school, I earned every promotion at my job. I saved for years to be able to marry the woman I love. But none of that matters to you, does it? Because I'm not a doctor or a hotshot entrepreneur. I'm just, what was it you called me in your wedding speech? Oh, right, dependable." The silence that followed was deafening. My mom had tears in her eyes, my siblings looked like they'd been slapped, and my dad just looked tired. "Is that really what you think of me?" I asked, my voice quieter now but still trembling with emotion. "That I'm some sort of failure because I chose a different path? That I'm not worthy of the same love and support you've showered on them?" No one seemed to know what to say. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You know what? I don't need your money. I don't need your approval. What I needed was your love and support, but I guess that was too much to ask for." I turned to leave but paused at the doorway. "Oh, and by the way, that little bed and breakfast where Sarah and I had our honeymoon? It was perfect, because we were together, and that's all that matters. Maybe if you all spent less time counting your money and more time counting your blessings, you'd understand that." With that, I walked out, ignoring the calls of my name behind me. As I drove home, a mix of emotions washed over me. Relief at finally speaking my truth, sadness at the realization that my family might never truly understand me, and a strange sense of freedom. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was breaking free from the need for their approval. When I got home, Sarah was waiting up for me. One look at my face and she knew something major had happened. I collapsed into her arms and told her everything. She held me as I alternated between angry rants and quiet sobs, stroking my hair and reminding me that I was loved, that I was enough. In the days that followed, my phone buzzed constantly with messages and missed calls from my family. I ignored them all, needing time to process everything. Sarah was my rock, reminding me that I had nothing to be ashamed of, that standing up for myself was long overdue. A week later, I finally agreed to meet my parents for coffee. The conversation was awkward and tense, but it was a start. They apologized for making me feel less valued, though I could tell they still didn't fully grasp the depth of the hurt they'd caused. I made it clear that things needed to change if they wanted a relationship with me going forward. As for my siblings, it's been a slower process. Years of ingrained dynamics don't change overnight. But there's been progress. My sister called to apologize for her behavior at the wedding, admitting she'd been jealous of the genuine happiness Sarah and I shared. My brother and I had a long, honest talk about our childhood and the wedge that money had driven between us. It's been 6 months since that explosive family dinner, and things are different. Not perfect, but better. My parents have made efforts to be more equitable in their treatment of us kids, though old habits die hard. My siblings and I are learning to relate to each other as adults, without the constant undercurrent of competition. As for me, I'm happier than I've ever been. Sarah and I are talking about starting a family of our own, and I'm determined to break the cycle of favoritism and conditional love. Our kids will know they're valued for who they are, not what they achieve or how much money they make. I won't pretend the hurt has completely healed, or that I don't still feel a twinge of resentment sometimes when I see my siblings' lavish lifestyles. But I've realized that true wealth isn't measured in dollars and cents. It's measured in love, in integrity, in the strength to stand up for yourself even when it's hard. So here's my advice to anyone out there feeling like the black sheep of their family. Your worth isn't determined by how much money your parents give you or how your achievements stack up against your siblings. You are enough, just as you are. And sometimes, the family you choose, the one you build with your partner, your friends, your own kids, is more valuable than the one you're born into. Oh, and if you enjoyed this tale of family drama and financial favoritism, why not subscribe? After all, dependable storytellers are hard to come by these days, unlike some people's trust funds.